Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, the podcast that brings us special guests out of the multiverse and straight to you. Today's guest is one of the members of a group called the Cosmic Coterie. She is based out of Texas, as many of my previous guests have been. I have a large Texas and California guest rotation here at this point, and I'd like to introduce you to Koholint. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good.
You are into a number of different fandoms, and I got your list of things that you wanted to talk about, and what the first thing right off the bat that really got me interested was that you are into a lot of animes, like a lot of different animes.
Yes. Sometimes it's hard to find other people that are into the same things as me, but that's okay.
Now,
I still have fun.
Which animes are you into right now?
Right now, I'm I'm very obsessed with Mob Psycho 100 and One Punch Man.
Okay, well, I've heard of One Punch Man, but let's start with Mob Psycho 100. What is it?
All right. It's kind of hard to describe. So both One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100 are by the same creator. He goes by the pseudonym One. Mob Psycho 100 is I think it's his first real manga. One Punch Man started as a webcomic, and Mob Psycho is an actual serialized manga. It's about the main character is a middle schooler, and he goes by the nickname of Mob, and he's got powers. He's an Esper, and basically the series is about his adventures. It's really hard to describe it.
Okay. Now, does it take place primarily in like a middle school setting, or outside of the school, or just like a mixture?
Well, it takes place in Japan. It's mostly outside of the school. Like, it's not really a school manga. It's just he happens to be a middle schooler. Oh goodness, it is very hard to describe. There's so many arcs and different things that happen. It's difficult. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. How did you get into Mob Psycho 100? Was it just through like maybe somebody recommending it to you, or did you just happen to stumble across it?
So I was into One Punch Man first. The One Punch anime came out, and I watched that. I got really into it, and I was like, I wonder what else this creator has. And I heard of Mob Psycho 100, but I never felt the time was quite right to sit down and read it. And then I heard early last year that there was going to be an anime coming out. I was like, that sounds pretty interesting. I might check it out when it comes out. And I don't know, I honestly thought maybe 3 or 4 times about sitting down to read it, and I didn't have the time. I was busy with work. I didn't need a new series because I know how I am. I get very obsessed. And then in July, when the anime aired, I started suddenly seeing it around everywhere, mostly on Tumblr. And because most of the One Punch fandom watched it, since they have the same creator, I started noticing people talking about it. I was like, you know what, I'm going to watch this. So I watched the first episode. I said, oh, wow, this is really intriguing. And then I binge read the whole manga in 2 days.
Wow.
And the rest is history.
2 days.
Yeah.
That is some hardcore dedication right there.
It's very good. I'm also a really fast reader, so that's part of it.
Where, like, if people are wanting to watch it or check it out, it's not on Netflix, is it?
No, it's not, but you can watch it in Japanese on Crunchyroll.
Okay. And
there's actually a dub coming out on Funimation right now, and I know a lot of people hear the word dub and they sigh. But, okay, the Mob Psycho 100 dub is so incredible. It has blown my mind. It is amazing. So whatever you prefer, you can check it out on the official sites and support the series.
Okay, awesome. It definitely, the name alone just makes you want to like check it out and see what it's all about. Like, I mean, some of the animes that come out, like some of them have weird names, some of them don't have, like, are normal, and then there's something like Mob Psycho 100.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like, well, let me see that first episode and see what's going on with it.
Yeah, I was hooked immediately. Like, I don't know, something about it is just, it jives with me.
Well, that's always a great thing to have, is that immediate connection instead of having to wait even just a few episodes to really connect with the characters and get into the story.
Yeah, the nice thing about it is that it starts out and it jumps right into action. You know, you've got to do some character introduction and whatnot, but there's never a slow part of the series.
Okay. And then before that, you were into One Punch Man.
Yes.
Now, I know One Punch Man only solely through people, like, cosplaying the character, which I'm not sure, like, is One Punch Man the character, like, is he just a really thin guy, or in the anime or manga, is he, like, built with muscles? Because that's the one, the variations I see, like, really thin guys doing it, or really, like, muscular guys doing it.
So the thing with One Punch Man, so the main character is Saitama, and he's supposed to look very plain. He's not supposed to, like, attract anyone's attention. So the series is really funny because most of the time he's drawn very simply, like very simple lines, not a lot of detail, just kind of for comic effect. And then when he gets serious, that's when all the details come out. So One Punch Man is a parody manga. It's really funny. It's great. But yeah, so there's certain humor aspects thrown in because of that. Okay.
Now, how did you get into that? Like, because that came before Mob Psycho 100. What was the draw to One Punch Man?
So this is actually kind of a funny story. So actually, my friend Allie, who's a fellow member of Cosmic Coterie, we went out to dinner one night and we were just, talking about stuff. I think I was preparing to go on a business trip, and they were telling me about this series called One Punch Man, that I need to read it, and that they knew exactly who my favorite character was going to be. I was like, okay, fine, I'll indulge you and read this, and yeah, I fell very deep into that hole pretty much immediately. Also,
is it similar to Mob Psycho 100 with like a small manga run and then the anime along with it?
Well, both series are actually still ongoing.
Okay.
So One Punch Man has the webcomic and the redrawn manga. Both of them are still ongoing. Of course, the webcomic is much further along, and it recently updated after not a huge hiatus, but it was not updating for a while. And Mob Psycho 100, I think, is nearing the very end.
Now, if you were going to recommend these to manga or anime, whichever that people prefer, what would your pitch be to them to get them into it?
Oh, goodness. First of all, it would depend on preference. Again, One Punch Man is a parody. It's completely humorous. Mob Psycho 100 is a shonen, so it's got a bit more story. It's a bit deeper. Not to say that One Punch Man isn't, but One Punch Man, again, it's humor. That's what it's for. And Mob Psycho 100 is more about the story. So I guess that can be used as a way to decide which one to look at, but you can't compare both series. That's something I see a lot of people saying, oh, well, One Punch Man is so much better than Mob Psycho, or, Mob Psycho is better than One Punch. And I think it's unfair to compare them because they're both different genres aimed at different target audiences.
Right.
I mean, you can't compare a comedy to something more dramatic. I don't know. That's something I would say don't do. Don't compare them. They're both completely different, and really the only thing they have in common is that they have the same creator. There are certain themes that are maybe kind of similar. Again, I mean, Mob Psycho does have some humor. It's very funny at some points, but it's not the same just, slapstick comedy that One Punch Man is.
Okay. And I know with One Punch Man, like, the popularity, at least over here in the States, I've seen it more on people that dress up as Saitama, and much more mentioned than, like, Mob Psycho. Is it just because that's One Punch Man's been out longer?
I would think so, yeah. The anime came out. The other thing about One Punch Man, it's got like I said, the webcomic and the redrawn manga, which is by a very talented artist. So the art is amazing. Just the art alone draws you in. I very much appreciate good art, so the details, everything is fantastic. Mob Psycho 100 turns a lot of people off because it uses the artist's original style. It takes some getting used to. I know a lot of people just don't like it. But it's charming in its own way. I don't know. You have to read it and understand. You'll be like, yeah, you'll either love it or hate it. I think One Punch Man's just easier to appreciate right off the bat.
Okay. Well, those two are definitely something to check out. And again, they're both on Crunchyroll?
Mob Psycho is. I think One Punch Man is on Hulu.
Okay.
I want to say. But I'm not entirely sure, honestly.
I'm sure if people are listening and they want to check it out, they will. Look
for
it on the... That's a question for Google.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Now, besides anime, you said that you grew up mostly on video games, which for certain people of generations, myself included, I grew up on like the Nintendo and then the Genesis and the Super Nintendo and the original Game Boy, and having the lights in the back of the my parents' van so that way I could play Tetris or Dr. Mario or whatever was out at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I both love one of the series that I grew up with and is very close to my heart, and that's Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Now, were you into Final Fantasy originally when it came out? You don't need to date yourself. You can just tell me like the first Final Fantasy game that you fell in love with.
So I didn't really get to play Final Fantasy until I was a little bit older and I could borrow the game and a system from a friend. When I was growing up, I had to pay for all my video game stuff on my own, which, I mean, when you're in elementary school, that's kind of difficult to do.
Yeah.
So when I got to, middle school and high school, then I had more friends, and so I had a friend with Final Fantasy VII, and I had been dying to play Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm.
So she lent me her PlayStation, and she lent me the game, and
that's a nice friend right there.
Yeah, it was very awesome of her to do that for me, actually. So, yeah, I played 7, and then I really loved it. And then I didn't get to play a Final Fantasy game until I played 2 when I was finally in university.
That's a huge jump backwards.
It is.
Now, I'll tell you that I started off with the original Final Fantasy way back in the day with the Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously with how they came out, 2 never came out in the States, it was 4... and the Japanese numbering came out as 2 over here.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my favorite of the entire Final Fantasy game series, Final Fantasy IV, with Cecil and Kain and Rosa and Rydia and all the other special characters.
Yeah, so 4 was my third Final Fantasy game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, since you have played 2 and I have not, now have you finished 2?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Now, what if you're telling me to play 2 and invest my time into 2, what would you say makes 2 so good?
2 is very well known for its battle system. It's a little bit different from your typical Final Fantasy in that you level up your skills with certain weapons and magic instead of just, leveling up kind of in general. A lot of people did not like that system. It had some glitches, I think, in the original releases. I played it on a Game Boy Advance port.
Okay.
So I think by then they kind of fixed some of the problems. What really got me into 2, besides the battle system, which I did enjoy, it was very difficult. I do like the challenge. 2 was almost too much of a challenge at times because you're pretty much capable of accessing the whole map from the beginning.
Wow.
But if you wander too far, you're going to find enemies that you can't defeat, and you're not going to be able to get back. So I almost had to restart the game 2 or 3 times because I accidentally wandered a little bit too far, and I don't know how I got lucky enough to get back to, safety.
Right. There are definitely times where if you are not prepared... And that goes across, all the games, because I remember playing Final Fantasy IX at one point, and I did not have enough, potions.
Oh.
And I probably put, 10 or 15 hours into it and had to restart because I had saved without a way to go back and get more potions, and I just had screwed myself. And I was like, oh, gosh, gotta start over again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with 2, do you play, with the original Final Fantasy, you picked out generic characters, like you picked Black Mage or White Mage, and you picked
Correct.
your group of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Now with 2, is it the same system?
So 2 was the first Final Fantasy game that actually had named characters. And so the main character is Firion, and some of your supporting characters are Maria, Leon, Ricard, etc.
Okay.
There's quite a cast that comes in and out, and it's kind of notorious for killing off several of them. The thing is, it's not quite as emotional as a lot of other Final Fantasy games are. You know, it's your typical, sprite characters. There's not a whole lot of character development. Not that there's none, just, it's an early game. There's not quite as much detail, even in comparison to 4.
Right.
So it's kind of your generic, all right, let's go defeat the bad guy type game. But I had a lot of fun with it.
Okay. And then from 2, you progressed to 4.
Yes.
As your third game of the Final Fantasy series that you started playing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, had you heard about 4 at this point, or someone recommended it to you, or did you just stumble across it?
I'm trying to remember. I think what happened is by the time I actually had time and money to play Final Fantasy games, Dissidia had already come out.
Okay.
Now, I never had a PSP, sadly, so I was never able to play it, but I would watch playthroughs of it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And just certain characters kind of intrigued me. So I was like, what game is this character from? Does this game seem worth playing? Just because I had limited time.
Right.
I couldn't just sit and play every single game, even though I would love to. So I think what happened is probably through Dissidia, I just kind of, heard things on Tumblr, or like I saw pretty art, especially from Yoshitaka Amano.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just kind of stumbled on 4 and decided it looked really cool, and then I went out and bought it.
I love Final Fantasy 4. I can remember that I think it was me, or maybe it was my friend, and we were having a sleepover because that's how young I was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It just come out for the system.
Right.
And there was a part, and I don't know if you ever got to that portion of it, where Rydia has gone. Like, she's gone, she disappeared over the side of the boat, and you're like, oh crap, I loved Rydia. Like, she's my favorite character of that game. And you're in this fight in the Dwarven city, and you're getting stomped, and all of a sudden a mist dragon shows up, and we both screamed at the top of our lungs, probably at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, that Rydia was back and she was saving the party.
Mm-hmm.
And like those memories of that game probably still define me to this day. Like, that video game had such an influence on me.
That's a really good story. Sorry, I'm just.
Oh, it's okay.
Like, oh, that's so cool. I have some memories like that too. Not of 4 necessarily, just growing up and playing games with friends.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, who's your favorite character of 4? I mean, I just gushed my heart out for Rydia and my love for her, but I'm curious to know yours. So
my number 1 favorite of 4, I do really appreciate all the characters. I really like the cast. I like. It's such a great game. But my favorite is Kain.
Kain Highwind, that vile betrayer, who's not really betraying anybody, but,
Exactly, yeah.
There are certain times where Kain just screws you over, and you're like,
oh, yeah.
I hate you.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing with Kain is, when he's a part of your party, you're like, oh, I gotta get the good weapons for him, I gotta spend the money on his armor, and then he screws you over, and you're like, I invested so much into you.
Right? There goes all my guilt, like, frustrating.
There's one part where he leaves you in a dungeon, and all of my people were dead. I had no potions.
Oh, no.
It was only Kain, and you have to get out of the dungeon to get to the nearest save point. You need to get to the nearest save point. And so Kain left. All my people are at negative. I've got no potions. Random encounter. Game over.
Oh my gosh.
Start at the save point that I saved at last time.
Hopefully it wasn't too far back.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't too far back. It's just like one of those hard boss battles where you're like just trying to work it and pray that you make it through. And I had to make sure, like, okay, now that I know that Kane's going to screw me over, I got to make sure that at least one person is still healthy. Now, what is it about Kane that you like?
I'm honestly not sure. I'm kind of a sucker for the Dragoons, I think.
Because they're awesome.
Yes. And I mean, his armor is super cool. Like, you can't beat that. He just looks cool. He looks like a dragon. I mean,
yeah.
It's hard to not be like, whoa, that's a really cool character design, and then just kind of get intrigued by the character.
Exactly. He jumps off the screen, he comes back down with his spear and everything else, and he's pretty much like one of those awesome characters.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat Kane for just sheer cool factor.
Exactly. He's probably still like one of those favorite characters. If he showed up now, if they had done, let's say, like a remaster of 4 at this point, I think people would love him a lot as far as like the new generation of people that are playing Final Fantasy.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree.
He'd be up there with, like, I mean, I'm not going to say Titus, but like Auron or Cloud or...
Yeah.
Like, he would have that recognition as being, like, one of those awesome characters from the game that would transcend his game. I ask these questions when I send out my like, little survey just to get curious about, like, what people are into. And there's something that you had brought up that you are really into as a part of fandom. And you're a very big shipper.
Yes, I am.
Now, explain shipping for those people that are listening and maybe don't know what it is.
Oh my goodness. I'm not sure I'm the person to explain this. It's basically just pairing up characters in romances.
Okay. That's the basic of it. You're like, oh, I love X and Y together. I wish they were together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, if we were talking about Harry Potter, it'd be like Harry and Hermione, or Ron and Hermione, or Luna and Neville, or, you know, stuff like that.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Now, I saw on the related note for, like, Final Fantasy, you ship Kane with Cecil, who's the main character.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little embarrassed about my ship.
Oh, don't be embarrassed. It's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Now, I'm just curious why you ship them together. That's something, when I saw that, I was like, what? Like, just because, now, I go into it saying that I don't like Rosa. Like, I never liked Rosa. I didn't think Cecil and Rosa should have ever been together. So I was just curious why you ship those two characters together.
So I admit at first I actually kind of had the same feeling for Rosa that you did. I was like, man, you know, all I've got to do, I have to keep rescuing her. She, you know, can't really do that much. I was a little frustrated with that, but that was when I first started playing the game. Now that I'm a little older, I mean, it's actually been quite a while since I played the game. I think Rosa just suffered from bad writing, which wasn't necessarily her fault. So I can appreciate her as a character a lot more now.
Right.
And you know, so I can appreciate the things that she contributed to the game now. I'm not just like, oh gosh, you know, she's so annoying, blah blah blah.
Why did she wander into a desert by herself?
I wonder that too. Like, I mean, did she have water? I mean, you would think. I mean, she's a white mage. She's supposed to be, you know, pretty smart actually. I mean, smart enough to, you know, heal people. I mean, she had to study to be able to do that. I mean, that's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in canon, she does become queen. So, I mean, she has to know a lot of stuff. But, yeah, I just think that was just poor writing and not her fault. But, yeah, I think that's probably what it started out as. And then I was more interested in both Kane and Cecil as characters. And I don't know. I probably saw fan art. I was like, oh, okay, I ship that.
Gotcha. I mean, you know, that's how it happens. And there's certainly you can always make the case that there's like the stuff in the game where it's like, oh yeah, you know, they kind of like go together. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was just curious because like I ship all over the place with different fandoms. I'm like, or even like cross fandom. I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if this character got to cross over into this universe and find like true love with this one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm guilty as charged. Yeah, like I said, shipping is a huge part of fandom for me. It's a little embarrassing to talk about, but I don't know. It's just fun to explore different things that aren't in canon, I guess. And for me, it's shipping.
Absolutely. Before we start talking about cosplay, because that's a huge part of who you are, if you were going to recommend something besides like Mob Psycho 100 or One Punch Man, what would you recommend for people to check out? Something maybe that you really love and are passionate about, and maybe people don't know about it or haven't heard about it.
I'm trying to think about some of my previous fandoms, because it's not that I'm ever out of fandom, it's just, one takes precedence.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the things I'm into, I would say, are probably fairly popular. Code Geass, Kuroko's Basketball. I'm actually looking at my manga shelf right now to see if there's anything that makes me remember something else. My goodness, sorry, this is a difficult question.
Oh, it's okay.
Well, I guess since we talked about One Punch Man, if you like the sort of superhero type stuff, a classic that I really like is Tiger and Bunny.
Okay.
It was really popular back around, 2011, 2012-ish, and then now I don't see much about it at all anymore. But definitely it's in that genre as same as One Punch Man. And there's a series coming out now, I think, called Boku no Hero Academia. I haven't seen any of it or read it, but it's also another one of those superhero type anime shows.
Now, is it similar in the vein as One Punch Man, where it's like comedy?
Tiger and Bunny is not really a comedy. It's got more drama. I mean, yeah, it's got funny moments.
Okay.
But it definitely is more of a action/drama oriented show. It's actually by Sunrise, who created Code Geass, if that gives you any hints.
It doesn't give me any hints, but that's just because I stopped watching anime. Oh man, let's see here. Naruto was still had just started Shippuden.
Mm-hmm.
So years ago. Although I did watch Attack on Titan. Because apparently everyone has to watch Attack on Titan at this point.
Yeah, I actually quite enjoy Attack on Titan. I just haven't been keeping up with it for a while. Again, one series will take precedence for me, and I kind of have tunnel vision.
Right, yeah. I know I watched Attack on Titan. I think I binged it over like a 2 or 3 day period once it hit Netflix.
Mm-hmm. And
then I was like, well, when's the next part coming out? Because I guess the manga had gotten, manga's ahead of it, but they didn't understand, I guess, how popular it was going to become as far as an anime goes. Mm-hmm. So I know that I saw that the second, there's a trailer for the second season of it. So it's coming soon. I don't know when, though.
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited about it. It's been kind of a dormant fandom for me for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I heard about the second season, I was like, oh, well, wait, actually, this is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, especially with the characters that they have. Those characters are so dynamic, and the world setting is so incredibly interesting.
Oh yeah.
Where it's definitely. I want to know more. Give me more history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably why it got so popular, because it's so different. It's got such a, horrifying but intriguing setting, and I think it's a very good series. I know it's kind of got a bad reputation now, but I still do really like it.
Absolutely. It is definitely something for everyone to check out, although fair warning that you may need to cover your eyes occasionally during some of the more violent stuff, because even I was like, whoa, there's some stuff there that I wasn't expecting.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is pretty violent. I didn't think about warning people about that, yeah.
Fair warning to those people who are listening to this podcast. Now, I mentioned when I introduced you, you are a member of a group called the Cosmic Coterie. I believe you all are based in Texas.
Yes.
And I first discovered your group. Well, I don't attribute it to you, but your group in general via like Instagram, just looking at people's awesome Sailor Moon cosplays. And last year, your group won Best in Show at one of the larger Texas conventions, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Now, I guess let's start off with you individually. How did you get into cosplay?
It kind of was just a natural transition for me. When I was little, I really liked dressing up in costumes. I loved Halloween. I would have like my mom or my grandmother make me a costume. So I just kind of progressed from there. I guess once the internet started getting bigger, I saw people dressing up, and I thought that's what you did at conventions. So, I went to like my first convention, everybody was dressed up and it looked really fun, and, it just kind of grew from there.
Right. Now, what was your first cosplay character that you did?
That's kind of hard to think about. Let me think. Because, even when I was little, I wanted to be, dress up as Cinderella or, stuff like that. So that wasn't really cosplay. But I guess the first cosplay that I actually sat down and really wanted to make was back in 2008, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. It's either 2007 or 2008. I wanted to dress up from Tales of Symphonia.
Okay.
A very ambitious project. I had a little bit of help from my grandmother because she's always supported me on my crazy little ideas.
Right.
And she also taught me how to sew, so that was kind of one of my first sewing projects. Yeah, so that was probably my first quote real cosplay.
Okay.
Even though I didn't start becoming more serious about cosplay until 2010. So that's usually the year I quote for when I started.
Okay. Now, how do you pick out, the people or the characters that you want to dress up as? Is it more that you identify with the character, or that you like the costume, or is it a little bit of both?
It's definitely a little bit of both, but I would say 90% of it is I have to somehow click with the character. Like the thing is, I put a lot of time and effort and money into all my cosplays. So for me to do that, it has to be a character I really care about and a design that, I know I can make. So I guess there just has to be a personal connection enough for me to be able to willingly put hours and hours and, weeks and months into an outfit.
Right, because not only you're putting your time in, which is limited at this point because, you have a real job.
Correct.
You are putting your money into it to buy the fabric or buy whatever you need for it. And then, obviously you're paying for the ticket to go to the convention so that way you can wear the cosplay to it. And then, it's serious business. It's not something where people can just be like, okay, I'm going to go and dress up and boom. It doesn't really work that way.
Right, yeah, it takes a lot of planning ahead. Actually, it's only January now, and I've got most of my year planned out cosplay-wise already.
Right, I know that was floating around on people's Instagrams. Here's my 2017 lineup, or the cosplays I want to plan out for the year. I know some of the people I follow were like, I'm going to do less cosplays but have more detail, or some people are like, I'm going to do 12 cosplays this year, and they had each picture, and I was like, wow, that's really impressive. Who are some of the favorite characters that you cosplay, that you've done in the past or that you currently do, that you just enjoy doing?
The first character that comes to mind is probably one that I'm most known for at this point, is my Sailor Mars that I wear with Cosmic Coterie.
Right, which is an amazing Sailor Mars.
Well, thank you. I do really appreciate hearing that. She's been a character I've wanted to cosplay for a very long time. Ever since I was little, growing up. You see Sailor Moon on the TV. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Mars is my favorite. I usually tend to gel with characters that have somewhat similar personalities to mine, or share an astrological sign with me. I kind of like astrology just for fun.
Okay.
So Sailor Mars and I are both Aries, so it's like an instant connection. And then she's known for having her crows and whatnot, and I love birds.
Okay.
So that's another thing, and it's just she was always the one I wanted to cosplay. So I was so delighted to join Cosmic Coterie and wear Mars with them.
Awesome. She's my second favorite of the inner senshi. I love Mercury first, just because I identify with her like quietness and techie like self, and how she's like just that supporting role. And but Mars was always like that second character where you're like, I love her. Like she just puts it all out there, and she just tells it like it is, and she'll knock Usagi on her head, and she'll correct anything if it's not like what she thinks it should be going on. She'll let you know.
I know that's probably why a lot of people actually dislike Mars, but it always endeared her to me. And of course, fire powers, which that's really cool. Okay.
Absolutely. So you do Sailor Mars. Who else do you do?
A cosplay I absolutely love wearing. One day I will make another version of him. I love cosplaying Lelouch from Code Geass.
Okay.
It's a very fun outfit. I really like the wig color that I use for him on me. I know that's maybe a little shallow of a reason, but it helps, when you feel confident in an outfit, and I definitely feel extremely confident both as Sailor Mars and as Lelouch.
Okay. What are you? You said that you have stuff planned for this coming year, the year that we're in now at this point. Care to share some of them, just out of curiosity?
I have some tentative plans and some for sure plans. Most of what I planned are actually which conventions I'm going to, but my absolute for sure outfits for this year, we at Cosmic Coterie are doing Madoka Magica as our big build for the year. So I will be cosplaying Kyoko. She's also the red one in this group. I might have a theme going on here. And then, she uses a spear. So we were talking about Kane earlier, and,
there's just certain things where you look back and you're like, I'm really hitting some of those character things that I like. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm very excited about cosplaying her. She's actually been in my plans for several years as well, and I just never had the chance to make her, and I'm very excited that we're doing this with Cosmic Coterie.
Awesome.
And then another cosplay that will be for sure for me this year is a version of Victor from Yuri on Ice.
Okay, which apparently has become like a breakout anime hit, because I have friends not only like in the cosplay community, but in like writing communities where they're like, you need to check this out because it's phenomenal.
It is a very good series. I was following it from when it started airing, and then I got a little busy with work, so I kind of fell out of it until it ended, and then I binged the rest of it. Oh my gosh, it was very good. Very, very good.
Someone said, you won't think that a anime about I think it's Russian male ice skaters, correct?
There's a couple of the main characters are Russian, and then I guess the true main character is Japanese.
Okay. But they said you wouldn't think that a anime about men's figure skating would be as good as what it was, and they were like, I was crying, like people were like, I was crying at the end of it and everything, and it's like, wow, yeah, it must be incredibly awesome.
It was very awesome, very emotional, without being like too dramatic or too overboard. It was a very refreshing series to watch. I really enjoyed it.
How did you get involved with Cosmic Coterie? Because that's a large group of people. Now, do they like? And I mean, I have no clue, so I'm just asking. Do you get recruited? Like they had an opening for a sailor, and they needed somebody, and they asked you, or like how did that work? I
think that's what happened. The things that happened before I joined, I'm a little fuzzy on. I'm kind of up to date, but for Anime Fest, which is in the fall of last year, I was asked if I would be interested in joining as Sailor Mars. Because I guess they were doing some cast shuffling and they wanted to do the more outer senshi. It was something like that, and basically Mars had an open spot, and my friend Allie's in the group and recommended me to everybody else, and I'm sure they did some reviewing of what cosplays I've done and whatnot, and they ended up inviting me to join, and I accepted.
Okay. Now, had you done Sailor Mars beforehand, or were they going off of like, oh, she would fit into Sailor Mars, like not like the costume, but like fit
Correct.
that character?
So I actually did cosplay Sailor Mars back in 2015. I had graduated university the year prior to that, and I was excited to finally, have my real job and, have time to work on cosplay some more because in university I had pretty much just the summer and winter break to work on cosplay. And I really wanted to keep working on cosplay and get better, so one of the first outfits I decided to make was Sailor Mars, and I mean it wasn't too bad. I learned a lot while making that, but I always had this feeling of I really want to remake it. I know what I would do better next time, things like that. And so when Cosmic Coterie asked if I would be their Sailor Mars, I jumped at the chance at being able to remake Mars.
Awesome. And I know that Cosmic Coterie, at least on Instagram, they have super awesome like tutorials for people to follow along on how to make the different parts of the Sailor Scout costume or the uniform, so to speak.
Yes.
Like it's really like you get people that are they're like, oh, I made this, it's so great, but it's even better to say, here's how we made it. Let us show you the steps so you too can do it at your home.
Yeah, that's a big thing for us, is giving back to the community that supports us, because, I mean, Sailor Moon's a pretty old series, so, there have been hundreds, if not thousands of people that have made Sailor outfits before. So, of course, we also grew up, reading this, seeing these tutorials. So, we're building on what people have done in the past, but we also, want to help further everybody's knowledge. So tutorials are a big thing for us. We definitely don't want to seem like we're secretive or anything. Like we're very happy to help and contribute to the community.
Definitely. And you being, I think, my third or fourth person from Texas, I've heard that the Texas cosplay community is such an incredible community of people, especially like on social media. I see, because I follow a few of you, different people. I've had Jeremy, who goes by Strife the Warrior, and I've had Kristen Nicole on as well. And like just seeing all of you like interact with each other and talk about like, oh, upcoming stuff and the crossovers, and it's very awesome to see like how tight knit, at least from as an outsider looking in, how like you guys seem to all like gel together and hang out together and give each other like advice or suggestions or positive feedback, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. It's honestly, I'm not that great with people, so I didn't start meeting a whole lot of people until I joined Cosmic Coterie, and everybody's so nice and welcoming, and it's really nice to be surrounded by so many good people. Yeah,
definitely.
Because unfortunately, the cosplay world kind of is notorious for seeming like people are catty or that they're too full of themselves. Which, I mean, maybe some people are like that, but at least not the people that I hang out with.
Right. It's definitely. I hear the term like cos famous thrown around, like, oh, they just want to be cos famous, or I've heard that people get jealous, like, oh, you did that character, but I wanted to do that character, or they were jealous like how well that person portrayed the character.
Yeah.
It's all, like it's like the same stuff that I guess everyone would get, but it's just very hyper focused just within that community, and everyone kind of knows each other.
Yeah.
Especially with how social media is nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah, there's definitely pluses and minuses too. knowing everybody. Texas, I think, probably seems like we're pretty close-knit because Texas is huge. So everybody here is accustomed to driving, oh, that's only 4 hours away. That's no big deal. So I think maybe that might have something to do with it. Most of the big conventions are in big cities, and again, most of us are accustomed to rather long drives, so it's not a big deal for us to go to whatever convention within the state. Absolutely.
I mean, you say 4 hour drive, and I'm like, I don't want to drive 4 hours in Florida. 4 hours in Florida, that'd be almost to Tallahassee. And no way, I'm not doing that drive. It's boring.
See, and that's about the drive from here to Houston, which people make all the time.
More power to you guys, because no way, not for me.
Texas is interesting.
You get a good cross section of people in Texas. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people like work in the tech industry out there, and then you've got like the small town Texas, and like Friday Night Light Texas maybe, and all sorts.
Oh yeah,
you get all sorts.
There's so much variety here.
Now, how would you, if somebody was asking you for advice on how to get into cosplay, what would your advice be to them?
I would just say, be realistic and plan ahead for everything that you do. I know cosplay first and foremost is always for fun. That's why I cosplay, because it's fun. I really enjoy making costumes. I enjoy seeing my hard work pay off, by finally being able to wear my outfit. But again, the ultimate point is for fun. Unfortunately, there are some people that take it a little too seriously, which is, it's not bad to be serious about your hobby. I mean, I'm very serious about cosplay. But you can't just, I don't know, you just have to be positive, be flexible, and plan ahead for what you do. Because unfortunately, there's a learning curve, not just with sewing, but you have to get used to the conventions, and you've got to get used to what to expect from certain conventions, just because they're different locations. Where do I park? Even things like that. You just you have to get used to it. So probably just start out slow, plan. Read online. There are so many tutorials online. I mean, it's amazing what you can find out online. Like even us, Cosmic Coterie, we put out tutorials. There are so many tutorials for all kinds of outfits. Like honestly, if you ever have a question about, what should I do about wigs? How do I wear a wig? How do I sew this or that? What kind of, how do I make a pleated skirt? Things like that. It's all on the internet. Like all you have to do is Google it. And there are tons and tons of amazing tutorials out there. So I guess to sum it up real quick, what I would say to someone trying to get into cosplay is just research. Research, and use your research to plan ahead.
Definitely. Research, plan ahead, and probably, I know some people would probably say buy more fabric than what you need.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's hard to judge sometimes, so I think that's where the research comes in too.
There you go. Now, if people are listening and they would like to follow you on said social media, what are the best places for them to find you?
Right. Well, the best place, in my opinion, is my Instagram. I go by Koholint_cosplay there. And on my Instagram is the link to my Facebook. I also have a Twitter. I'm not quite as active on Twitter, but you can find me as Koholint Cosplay on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Okay, and I'll have links to all those on the Facebook page and on the show notes. And then does the Cosmic Coterie have a Instagram? I think they do.
Yes, we do. We've got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we have our own website. And that's where you can find the tutorials, yes.
Well, see, there you go. So I will have links not only to Koholint, but also to all the Cosmic Coterie sites for those that are interested. And that way you can check out her wicked awesome Sailor Mars and everything else that she's got planned for this year for, like, Madoka Magica.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad that I got to talk to you. It's been fun.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little bit nervous just because, like I said, I'm one of those people I kind of have to plan everything ahead. So, I'm always like, I'm in line at Starbucks thinking, okay, I'm reviewing how I need to order my drink. But this has been super fun. I love talking about the things that I love.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.